Good day folks, it's Nick here, a very warm welcome to you. It's another chapter in these reviewed games so far. This time it's Commodore 64 games 151 through to 200, so let's get going. Starting with Quick Snacks, a part of the Dizzy series, or more of a side game. Now, Quick Snacks on the Commodore 64 is different to Quick Snacks on any other system. I don't know why. But anyway, we've got this maze here. We need to collect items and generally survive to the end. It's a jolly sort of music to it, and I don't know why they didn't call this a different name, to be honest with you. But it's quite good, but don't go expecting Quick Snacks from any of the other ones. It's Dizzy, it's an egg, he got boxing gloves, and he's doing something a bit different from these other missions there. Then we got Mad Mixed Game, the Pepsi Challenge, influenced by Pacman, sponsored by Pepsi. Got a bit more colour to it than the ZX Spectrum version, but the idea is the same. Collect all the pellets as you go around. There's a few upgrades as well, including shooting stuff. There's doors that go backward and forward and gateways. It's a big old maze. It's not as good as Pac-Man, but it's a nice variant, and they've done something a little bit different with it. So, you know, well worth catching up with Mad Mixed games there. A maze game. The Last Ninja, very, very popular on the Commodore 64 back in the day. It's all in isometric. You're playing this adventure where you're a ninja man going forward to solve some sort of crime or mystery. I didn't really get on with it that much, but the music was quite good. It did spawn a few sequels, I think. There's different weapons to pick up as well, and a bit of puzzle solving along the way. The Last Ninja, not the first ninja, not the second ninja, not the second from last ninja, but it's the Last Ninja. Tetris, a variant of Tetris, no in-game music on this one, but the idea is, you know Tetris, don't you really? Arrange the shapes as you go down there. I've lost count of how many Tetris games we've reviewed on multiple systems throughout there. Different characters, colours are different blocks, but the shapes are pretty much the same. Don't fill up the screen, match up as many rows as you possibly can to get as much points as you possibly can, gradually getting quicker. ZamZara, this is very, very difficult. The main character is sort of like an alien sort of thing from the movie Aliens, that's sort of like strange, like a head thing, but you're the hero this time. It's a horizontal scroller, and you need a bit of skill here going backwards and forwards to avoid the obstacles. So it's all about learning where to go to next. Quite a limited palette this, but gives it a little bit of mood. I think a lot of people would have liked this back in the day, but I didn't progress hardly anywhere. But you know, I'm a newbie, not a goalkeeper, a newbie player. Snowman, one of the Christmas games we've reviewed. I think it might have been a cover tape beforehand. Shoot the evil snowman with snowballs. Don't shoot the normal people if you can get away with it. Yes, the evil snowman, of course. Don't shoot the bad snowman, or else you'll lose points. It was good as a cover tape there. Well, I played it on the run up to Christmas, but not at all the rest of the time, because it's basic in what it's trying to do. It's a snowman, not the snowman we're walking through the air, anything like that. One of the big ones, pole position. If you had a Commodore 64, you probably heard of this one. Overtake as many cars as you can. The time's ticking down in the middle, so keep going and going and going there. The speed's quite good on this one. Graphics is good. I think it's probably the best version I've played of all the 8-bits at least. Good sound on it, good manoeuvrability of the car. Feels a bit like a Williams back in the day. But yes, classic racing needs no other explanation. Wizard of War from the arcades there. And they tried to make it a little bit like the Atari 2600 version. But you guide this guy through, shooting all various bits and pieces, get to as many mazes as you can, take them out, not to dinner, and then as soon as you shot everyone on the maze, then it's to the next level. A bit of a maze, bit like Pac-Man, I suppose, or Alien, the Pac-Man game on the Atari 2600. But yeah, Wizard of War, come out on a number of systems. This isn't a bad version. Pit Stop, not to get confused with the previous racing game we've reviewed, Pole Position. This is more of an angle going forward, but the idea is the same. Weave left and right and overtake cars. I think I'm going to get about 1 or 2 on the screen, maximum at the same time. Engine noise, well, sounds like a bee underneath a sink, but never mind. Yes, it's classic stuff again. So Pole Position and Pit Stop were probably the 2 racing games that you're more familiar with from the arcades converted to the Commodore 64. APB, All Points Bulletin, you're a cop here, various missions from one to the other. If you like any of these clips that you're seeing and want more information, well, we've reviewed them in the Commodore 64 playlist. Click on my username, takes to the channel page, click on the playlist tab, or there's probably a link in the description below. APB reviewed it on the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore Amiga. They do have their different feels between the systems, so check out the reviews of all of those. It's a bit of APB. Rallycross, influenced by Super Sprint, of course, and that's no bad thing. This one's quite good. You've got a bit of a chance of winning this one, bit of a manoeuvrability around the bends. You might not have heard of it, but you know, it is pretty good against free computer opponents. They don't get as stuck as they do on like Badlands, which we'll probably come to a bit later on. The cars are really small, which gives you an advantage. It gives you more to do with the track, probably the smallest cars I've seen in any of these racing games. Clacks come out on practically everything, so it's inevitable we can review it on the Commodore 64 as well. Tiles come down the screen, you catch it in your little catcher thing, which you can hold up to 5, and then you drop them in the grid below. Vertical, horizontal, or diagonal, you need to get wherever your mission is on this previous one. Nice and gentle, a good little stress buster, a variant of Tetris, and you can throw the tiles back up in the air if you didn't get the one you wanted. They'll come back down again. Zoom, a grid thing, again influenced by Pacman, but again, a bit like Quicks as well, I suppose. You need to round all the squares without bumping into the end of the enemy, so you need to capture the grid by circling absolutely everything. There's power-ups there. Game also come out on the Sega Mega Drive, which we've reviewed. Another good fun one, another time killer. Can't go too far wrong with Zoom, and a good name as well. Zoom it, baby. Spherical, a platformer strategy game. You control this wizard who makes blocks go in and out of existence, but we need to guide this ball when the time's run out to go into the in the bottom left. The inn will change positions from level to level, and there'll be different obstacles and different power-ups to pick up, but it's all about guiding that in a limited time before the time runs out. There we go, I've done that one quite quickly. Crystal Castles from the arcade, so there's two versions of this on the Commodore 64. I think this is probably the better one of the two. Again, another Pac-Man in idea. Collect all the pellets there throughout the maze, going up and down the lifts when necessary. Yes, you control a bear rather than a Pac-Man monster. There's quite a lot of levels to this, and they are very interesting and moving, so that will give you something beyond what the Pac-Man normally would have done. Camelot Warriors, now the oddest jumping in history. I don't know if this is influenced slightly by Ghosts and Goblins there, but interesting sound as he's walking along, but I don't think you can jump like this with that armour, and the jumping is so weird it hinders the playability of the game. Reviewed it on the ZX Spectrum as well. Slight differences, but the same flaws arise there. A bit more colour in this version, so play it for a bit of interest, but it's not a hugely brilliant game, I would say. Roadrunner from the Warner Brothers Roadrunner and Coyote. You control the Roadrunner in this one. You must pick up all of the, or as much as possible, of the corn by evading the capture of Wile E. Coyote at the same time. He will pick up power up to try and capture you. Just try and guide your way through it. Plays quite well, this one. I was quite impressed with it. A whole heap of fun. Not one you necessarily would have run out to the shops to buy, but if you come across it, you wouldn't have been disappointed. Gets a bit awkward a bit later on. Colour clash isn't as bad as the Spectrum version. Thrust, again from the arcade. You need patience here. This one is I think it was a homebrew, I think. It didn't come out back in the day. I might be wrong from memory. But guide your ship. Don't run out of fuel. Engage the tractor beam when necessary to pick up that sphere thing and take it to the heavens. Gets a bit more intricate as you go forward and different levels with things shooting at you, but you need a bit of concentration here, so good luck. It's not one you can rush through and do straight away. Atomics. You need to push and move elements around the screen, or components around the screen, to create elements here. Here we're trying to create water, so it's all about your strategy there, from seeing when the best way to move them around. A bit one up from one of those picture things. There we go, there's water, and the elements get more and more advanced each time with more molecules involved to try and get to where you need to go. So now we're on methane. There's nothing about creating a bit of methane in the comfort of your own living room. Hover bother. What do we do when you're going to go loo in English country garden? It's hover bother. It's all about mowing the lawn here. You need to mow the lawn without getting hit by any of the enemies that patrol the place. There's a dog running around, and if you go over the flower beds, people get a little bit annoyed. It's quite intricate here. You need to have skills of turning and stuff, but if you want more excitement than just mowing your normal lawn, then this is the one to get involved with. Yes, baby. Mr. Heli. A horizontal scroller, or say a multiple scroller in some sort of light points. You control this helicopter, which is a bit big for the main screen, so getting away from stuff is a bit problematic. But by shooting different blocks in these hidden areas, you can create power-ups or buy them, which makes your mission a whole lot easier. A good fun one to go through, although it does feel a little bit clunky to me, although I do like the sound of the helicopter propeller blade. If you want more information, check out the full review. Solomon's Key, very similar to Spherical here, except at this time, instead of guiding a ball to an exit, you need to make these blocks go in and out of existence to get to a door up the top there without getting hit by any of the enemy. Collect these fruit, or whatever they are, diamonds, for extra points along your way. Hooray! Solomon's Key or Spherical, which is your favourite one? Put your answers in the comment section below. Yay, yay, yay! Paperboy. Now this is the most trickiest version of Paperboy I've ever played. I got some stick on the review back in the time because I was hopeless at it. But yes, it doesn't feel quite right. I grew up with the ZX Spectrum version, which, you know, graphically doesn't look quite as good or colour-wise, so I made this a little bit awkward. The area for your bike doesn't seem to be too big, but the music is spot on with the arcades there, so, you know, some people might have perfected with it, but I found it a little bit too tricky. Karnov. Now this is a direct port from the ZX Spectrum, which they didn't need to do. Systems should go their own way. So even to the point where you got that black box around the character, which the Commodore 64 didn't need, you only do that to try and prevent colour clash, which the ZX Spectrum had a lot of. The Commodore 64 didn't. So why put a big box around him, I do not know. It's a mystery to me. It goes very, very slow as well. It's a lot moving on the screen at the same time, but you know, it's too slow to be any real fun. Gumball. This is an interesting puzzle game. By opening and closing flaps on these tubes here, you must guide the right coloured things to the right coloured receptacle. That's it. Before your time runs out, you're working in some sort of a warehouse here, and you do not want to get the sack. You can control the flow of the blue and the red things coming down. On other screens, you'll get more different colour receptacles to try and guide them in, and once you've got enough, put them in the bit on the side, so you've got your maximum quota for the day. Pac Mania, an all-time classic. Loved this on the Commodore Amiga. The Mega Drive, it wasn't bad either. This is using less of the screen, the Commodore 64, but the play is there too. Also come out on the ZX Spectrum, so I've loved it on everything. Music is really, really good. This better than I expected it to be. So again, a great conversion. Pac Mania is one of those ones that seems to be converted well on any other system. So if you had a Commodore 64 back in the day, or just emulation, this is a good one to catch up with as well. It's isometric Pacman. Good stuff. Olympic skier. No, this isn't Horace Goes Skiing. This is multi-events thing. Good animation on this one. You can get a maximum score by doing all the things perfectly. And it is quite addictive too. I do like the sound of that skier going over the ice. It might seem like interference, but it is not. Now this is my favourite event out of all of them, the Grand Slalom, the ski jump as well, along with a number of other ones. And it's quite quick to go through this. Goes will be quite brief, there's not much loading time between each one. Snare. Very, very difficult game to get hang of this because of the change in viewpoint. You need to get to an exit, pick up power-ups if you can do along the way as well. Some arrows will try and help you. You can jump to avoid bumping into the side here, but it gave me a little bit of a headache. That's me changing the views of things rather than doing anything crazy. Right. Okay, Snare, not one I'd go back to in a hurry. Hawky, a horizontal scroller. This is a case that the 8-bit version is a lot better than the 16-bit version on the Commodore Amiga. You control this hippie guy in his underpants, or has he got a mullet there? He must collect 3 or 4 items and then get to the exit on the other side. Get ready. It moves quite quick, the music is good as well, and it's a whole heap of fun. I love playing Hawkeye, and I think you should play it as well. Not the Amiga version, play the Commodore 64 version. Enemies will keep respawning along the way, which is a bit awkward there. Counterforce, what the hell's going on in this one? But anyway, you're trying to defend this central thing here with the crosshairs by blowing up stuff coming towards you. I found it a little bit awkward, but people gave me their tips below the review. It feels a bit like an Atari 2600 game rather than a Commodore 64 game, and I think those were a little bit frustrated because I couldn't shoot as much as I wanted to. Yes, there's a bit with the, directing the crosshairs to where you want. The Pyramid, a game I first played on the ZX Spectrum, and this does look like they're trying to do a direct port for whatever reason, but you need to clear all the enemies, or most of them, to create diamonds, to drop them in the traps, and by dropping a number of diamonds in each trap depicts what route you take down through the pyramid, and you need to get from the top down to the base. There's a number of different enemies. Each level, they might come horizontally, vertically, but they've got a different pattern depending on which stage you do. Mad Nurse, not very PC nowadays, but you've got this nurse who works in a maternity ward, and the babies keep jumping out the cots and get electrocuted and doing all sorts of harm to themselves. You need to pick them up and put them back into the cots. You couldn't get away with this game nowadays, but how did they get away with it then? Well, that's because people were never offended about stuff, and they just took it that it wasn't real life, it was just a game. A bit like a film isn't real life, but people get more offended by games than they do by films. Why? Because mainly kids are playing them. 3D Pinball. Now, this has got great ball physics, this pinball game. One of the best I've seen on the Commodore 64 there. You only get one table, which is a bit of a shame, but, it's got all the things. It represents like an old-fashioned pinball table with the pop bumpers there and the flippers. Sometimes it feels a little bit floaty, the flippers. You have to hit that slightly earlier than I'd ideally like, but I can't argue it. They've done a great conversion of what a real pinball table should possibly be like. Monty On The Run, he is on the run, one of the Monty mole games. He does a somersault here as he jumps along. One of the classics on the ZX Spectrum, a bit too tricky on the Commodore 64 really, but you can't argue with the music. Some of the best music I've ever heard on the Commodore 64 is absolutely awesome. But people that play this quite a lot perfected it. It is a challenge, and if you did complete it, then well done you. It was such an achievement to be able to do that. Tomcat, a horizontal scroller shooter, and the ship is just too big really. A jet fighter doesn't really go this slow over the air unless they're in first gear. Would have worked better as a helicopter, but then it might have been too similar to Swiv or the Silkworm game. But it's pretty basic in what it gives. It feels like it's been made on a shoot 'em up construction kit, but it's okay for a quick few minutes knock around. But as I say, the ship is too big in tight situations later on. The Island of Dr. Destructo, this is quite a weird one. I quite like it for its absolutely weirdness. You must shoot these enemies out of the sky, and then they crash onto the boat below, and then that boat eventually sinks. It culminates with Dr. Destructo's island, and you must sink that as well. Maybe it's built on old bottles or something. But yeah, you don't die straight away. The first level you can just go through all the enemy, and then later on there are stuff to avoid where the aircrafts are made of harder stuff. Addictive. Eliminator. This is a futuristic racer where you control this weird ship over this checkerboard course, and you must avoid getting blown up and avoid bumping into any of the obstacles and get there. Number of power-ups here which you can activate at any time. On the left-hand side there you've got gauges telling various things. On the right-hand side saying how much strength you've got. Again, fantastic music. The Commodore 64 could knock out the tunes when it wanted to. Street Sports Soccer. Yes, this is a bit of a tricky one, but anyway, football games are always a bit dodgy on 8-bit systems, but it's got a lot of character on this. There's two sort of like pitches you can choose, either the city one or one in parkland. There's a lot of space there. I do feel that you've got a chance of winning at some point, but I just wouldn't have the patience for it. But Street Sports, I think there's a few games in the Street Sports series. This is but one of them. Battle Chess, a classic game on the Commodore Amiga. Commodore 64, it's good as well. It's got a lot of character here. When I reviewed it though, I had to edit down the load times, and that's what kills it a little bit. The load times are miles too long, but if you are patient, which I suppose people playing chess might have been, it's a fantastic game underneath. All the animations are preserved from the Commodore Amiga version, so you know, you just want to kill every piece with every other piece that you possibly got. Some great fight scenes and a lot of fun. Beam Rider. I was more familiar with this on the Atari 2600 game. It's quite straightforward. There's 99 grids erected around the Earth, and you must take them out one by one, not to dinner. And you've got a quota of aliens you must destroy to destroy each shield, and then at the end of each one a big enemy ship will go across the top. If you blow that up, you've got extra bonus super points by firing your missile. Look out for extra lives, don't blow them up, because it'll be Doomsville, Arizona. Wavy Navy is a good variant on Space Invaders, this, although set in sea, or Space Invaders Galaxian I should say. Use the waves of the sea as like shields, and try and trick your enemy into crashing into those so they cannot get you. After each stage you get a different ranking, you go up the rankings. I think this game is really, really clever. Didn't come out on the ZX Spectrum as far as I'm aware, but I would have loved it if it did, and this has got a lot of character, this game. Really, really, really good. Good stuff. Bandits, another shooter. The enemy are trying to steal your fruits here from the right hand side. I don't know why, but aliens always up to no good. You've got limited amount of shields you can use in tricky situations. If you get killed, you're dead. That makes sense, but if they steal all your fruit, you're dead. Maybe they're trying to steal all the fruit from planet Earth because they're intergalactic greengrocers, but all we know is they're bandits. Great sound effects as well. Always makes me smile playing this game the few times I get time to actually play it. It's a go-to one. Super Pacman, I don't know what they did here. They tried to make a sequel to Pacman, but Pacman was perfect. This time he's eating lots of food, like eggs and stuff, and he can go super quick. There's doors as well you need to unlock with keys. I think they've overcomplicated the game Pacman, and it's not a surprise this one died a death. When people talk of Pacman, they don't think of this Super Pacman here with keys and doors and eggs and stuff. Well, I don't anyway. I prefer Pac Mania, that 3D one from earlier on. Magnetron, now this is an interesting game. There's a bit of inertia to it as well. You must go through various space stations and blow up gun turrets. As soon as you've destroyed all of them, then it's on to the next stage. It can get devilishly tricky at certain points there. A number of lives, but yeah, hover amongst the gun turrets, don't get taken out by them, and destroy them before they kill you. Very grey, these space stations, but they gradually get bigger and bigger. Outrun, this is a fantastic conversion. Commodore Amiga conversion was absolutely awful, so it's good to see one running at a certain speed. The only omission here is there's no forks in the road. We can go to different directions as the classic Outrun was, so one could argue it's not really Outrun, but I can forgive that because it moves so fast. Great fun, and the music is preserved as well from the arcades, and that's what really makes it. A kid's imagination will always add a great deal on top. Great conversion. Volfied come out on a number of systems. It's a variant on Quicks. You must basically claim back areas of the screen by drawing a line with your alien thing, and when you do that you're vulnerable and you don't get hit by any of the enemies there like I just did, who might take you out. Once you've completed about 80% of the screen, it's on to the next one, and you can do flash stuff there to try and get power-ups or encircle some of the aliens for bonus points. It's very addictive. It's Volfied over a number of different levels. Kings of the Beach is a beach volleyball game, very high ratings back in the day. It's for 2 players against another 2 players, or if you are just on your own, a computer will control your player. I found it very awkward. It was a bit frustrating for the newbie, but I can see once you've actually got the hang of it, it's going to be a very cool game, because graphically it's good, animations it's good, and I like the sound too. If you want an easier volleyball game, go for real sports volleyball on the Atari 2600 to get you warmed up. Outrun Europa, same as Outrun of course, except you're in various vehicles. Here I am on a motorbike. If you get to the end there, they then do a jet ski as you race across Europe, and there's a Porsche and a Ferrari involved as well later on. Again, it moves very fast. Very impressed by this game. Music is in there. It only plays a certain bit and then it cuts out, which is quite often has happened here. I got to the jet ski in the review, I think, but other times I have got a little bit further. Street Surfer, a chase view skateboarding game. Don't get run over by the cars. The music goes quicker the quicker that you go, but you must pick up lots of bottles and take them to a recycling bank. Don't get run over too many times, both in the game and in real life. An interesting one, this, and I quite liked it. There wasn't much to it. I don't know why something like this hasn't happened before, but this guy on his skateboard can go quicker than the cars sometimes. and I think he must have a jet-powered skateboard. Maybe it's Marty McFly from the future. And the last game in this 50, 151 to 200, is a horror game. It's a platformer. It's Elvira, the arcade game. She jumps a bit floaty, to be honest with you, and I think there are better Elvira games or Elvira games. But, you know, you're controlling her with a big beehive hairdo, and that's something you can't normally do in real life. If you can do, well, make your own jokes up there. But, yes, and there we go. So that is a good one. 2 worlds in this, ice and fire. So there we go. That is 50 games we reviewed. As I said, if you like any of those snippets that I just showed you there, check out the full reviews, give them some comments, show them some likes, show them some love. So here's to the next 50. We power forward. We've now completed 200 Commodore 64 games. Although I didn't own the system back in the day, I am loving seeing them. I can see what everyone was raving about. So, till next time, take great care of yourself and are very fond. Goodbye.
Goodbye.